देवाय।
ओम
Om
नमो
Namo
भगवते
Bhagavate
वासुदेवाय।
Vasudevaya.
श्रीमद् भगवद गीता की
जय।
जय। Okay, I'll share my screen with you. Oh, I think I need that access for sharing the screen. It says host disable participant screen sharing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Probably try now.
Yeah. Yes, I can. Perfect. Okay.
मैं सच में फ्रेश लग रहा हूँ, मेरी तो लंका लगी पड़ी है. Okay. Anyway,
Okay.
back to the zone.
So 2.64 is, we'll just repeat this verse because it is very nice. Say, Raga Dvesha Vimuktestu
राग द्वेष
रागद्वेष
मुक्तेषु
विमुक्तेस्तु
Vishayanindriyescharan
विषयान्
विषयानिन्द्रियेश्चयन्
इन्द्रियश्चरन्
Atmavashyera Vidheyatma
आत्मवशे विधेयात्मा
आत्मवश्यैर्विधेयात्मा
Prasadam Adhigacchati.
प्रसादं
प्रसादम् अधिगच्छति।
प्रतिगच्छति.
Can someone read the translation?
Sure. But a person free from all attachment and aversion and able to control his senses through regulative principles of freedom can obtain the complete mercy of the Lord.
So what is attachment?
Asakti.
So what is that? We discussed it last time, yes?
And even if someone is right, you support them doing wrong things. Is also an attachment.
Even if someone is right,
Even if someone is wrong, and if you
yeah,
support them in their wrongdoings, just
yeah,
because they belong, we know them somehow or some relation. Uh,
okay.
so yeah, so that's attachment.
Can it only be a person?
Anything. It could be a lust as well. And that lust can be anything, money, taste, or regarding those five senses.
Right. So anything that you are attracted to, even though it is wrong,
Ah, that's okay.
you know that it is wrong to do that, but you still want to do it. That's attachment to that. So that is moha also.
Hmm.
Raga, dvesha, vimukta. Raga is also another name for attachment. Dvesha, detachment. What is why it is a dvesha? You might have heard dvesha.
Dvesha. Dvesha.
So
Dvesh
it is
is
just the opposite of this. So
attachment.
yeah. So even if it is right, you don't want to do it.
Oh.
अच्छा है ना ये?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
हरि बोल,
Prabhu,
हरि
this
बोल.
is Radhe, Prabhu. I was driving back home, so I'll just listen for another 10 minutes.
Sure, sure,
Then
sure,
I'll join on the stream.
sure,
Thank
sure,
you.
Mataji. Yeah, thank you, Mataji. Thank you. So even if it is right, you don't want to do it. ऐसा किसी चीज से, किसी पर्सन से टसन रहता ना, नहीं करने का, तू बोलेगा
So,
तो.
Prabhu, is it because of the weaknesses that we have? We are not strong enough to do it?
It is dvesha. It is a vikar.
Oh, yeah, got you. Weakness. Got you.
So if I uh, say, for example, something to do is right, but just because किसी उसने बोला मेरे को करने तो नहीं करूँगा. ऐसा कोई अच्छी बात है, लेकिन क्योंकि इसने बोला ना, तो बिल्कुल नहीं करूँगा. That is dvesha. तो ये पालते हैं attachment, dvesha. So इससे विमुक्त, we have to be free from all this. It's a very difficult aspect of this, that you focus on the process. That is intelligence. See, this is buddhi. You don't attach any process to any person or a thing. If it's a good process, you do it. Regulative principles. Regulative principles में बहुत कुछ है. How deep you want to go, it's up to you. But at the macro level, if you see, it is no meat eating, no gambling, no intoxication, no illicit sex. ये बहुत ऊपर मैक्रो लेवल पे. अब नो इंटॉक्सिकेशन में बहुत नीचे जाता है. अभी first is intoxication, alcohol or drugs or whatever, you smoke or something, you bidi, charas, ganja, whatever you have, those things, you avoid being intoxicated. But उसमें बहुत नीचे बहुत सारी और चीजें हैं. Even coffee is an intoxication, tea is an intoxication. Anything, that you crave for can be an intoxication. नशा आता है उस चीज से तुम्हें, करने से. But you see people, if you say, and introduced to Krishna consciousness, you say no coffee, no chai, वो हाय हाय करके भाग जाता है वो. He doesn't, you know, ये नहीं कर पाऊंगा मैं. So initially, it may be a tricky one, but to understand regulative principles at the macro level, we have to understand this, that no alcohol, no intoxication, no illicit sex, no gambling, and then no
meat eating.
So this is majorly thing. Up उसमें कितना, how deep you go, it's upon you. It's upon your consciousness. But here we are not to, tell anyone or to judge anyone. Yes, करो बस बोलो. If you are following it, you follow it. So there are ways to follow up to a level where you can become completely, violent free. There is no meat eating at all, because there is killing involved in many of the things. In today's times, if you're not directly eating meat, some products which you're eating, they may involve killing. You may not know. Okay, if you know it, that's fine. You can share this, that I found this. But if someone is doing this, if you just go and tell, no, ye mat karo, or mat karo, and all that, it might become a kind of a free will for that person, and he might just step back. So that may not be intelligence. So we have to deal this, personally. Deal with this personally, and then if we see the, what do you call, like Krishna only gives advice when Arjuna is surrendered onto him. When someone is seeking advice directly in a very, very, what you call, humble way, and want really an advice from you, whatever you can share up to some limit. But this is for us to follow. This is personal. So the understanding is that we follow regulative principles, but not here. We are not preaching regulative principles. So we are understanding regulative principles very clearly for our benefit. Say, for example, there's one devotee who shared with me, who was a Westerner sometime back in Western Australia. His initiated name is different. So his Western name is John. Okay, so he was a Westerner, and it's very normal, very, very, very standard to have meat in their breakfast or lunch or dinner. It's very normal in their meals to have meat. And he married an Asian lady who used to eat meat. So he continued with whatever practice he had. And also, he used to eat meat along with, what she cooked. But he explained to his wife, over a period of time, that my spiritual practice, which I do, like my chanting and my service, I don't give my 100%. I'm not there if I'm eating meat. I'm not fully feeling that kind of the intensity and the passion and the attachment to the name. I'm not getting that nectar out of it. I'm not getting the benefit out of it as I should get it when I'm practicing eating meat and doing this. And she understood. His wife completely understood. He said, okay, you can take out all the stuff which you want to eat and eat that way. So what he does is takes all the veggies out of whatever she cooks, and he eats that, and she eats the meat. So practicing regulative principles is completely upon you. Now, if someone who's practicing this from a different angle, who doesn't even eat onion and garlic, he goes up to that level where he only eats Krishna Prasad. There are devotees like that also. If he sees this, he say, "Oh, you're not practicing. That's not the right thing." You see time, place, and circumstance of that person. how is he actually doing this? So there is a verse in Srimad Bhagavatam, which I had shared earlier. Remember? On time, place, and
Yes,
circumstances. Anyone remembers? What was that verse?
yes, yes. It was something around the moment you you have devotion towards Krishna, even your vices become faultless. Something on those lines.
Yeah. So I'll share that verse with you here also. I'll stop sharing my screen. It's Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 8,
Hmm.
chapter 23, verse 16. So I'll just go there. Canto 8, verse 23.
Chanting makes you faultless or flawless. Something on
Very
those
nice. Yeah.
lines.
The name of the Lord. So it speaks
Mhm.
about that. So I'll share my screen now. So please repeat after me. This is related to this verse about the regulative principles. Mantrasta tantrasta chidram
Mantrastantantraschitram
deshakalarha vastutah
देशकालरः वस्तुतः
sarvam karoti nischidram
सर्वं करोति निश्चित्रम्
anusankirtanam tava.
अनुसंकीर्तनं तव.
So it says there may be discrepancies in pronouncing the mantras and observing the regulative principles. So we might have discrepancies, in following the regulative principles. We may not follow up to that. So it depends on what it depends on. It depends on time, place, and circumstance. Okay. Circumstances also. And moreover, there may be discrepancies in regarding to time, place, person, and paraphernalia. So exactly what is said ahead. But when your Lordship's holy name is chanted, everything becomes faultless.
Hmm.
So what is important is to chant the name of the Lord, because the name is Krishna himself. When we say Krishna, it's Krishna himself. And we take it with full devotion from our heart. Whatever discrepancies we are doing is all sorted. So that was the reason of Mr. John. He could not chant properly because he was eating meat. But he somehow managed to take out the veggies from his wife's meat curry and eat with rice somehow and still chant the name of the Lord. It was much better than a person who's forcibly following all the instructions but not chanting the name with your heart. Doesn't make sense?
Yes.
So be careful on what you do. So you know how you are following your regulative principles and what are you trying to do. The motivation and the objective is to get the benefit of the holy name of Krishna, to actually receive the mercy of the Lord through chanting. That should be the motivation. If that is the motivation, that is the whole point object, then these things can be organized. Regulative principles will be organized. Okay. So I'll come back to 2.64. So through regulative principles, relating these regulative principles to the motive behind following the regulative principles, not going
Hmm.
up to the maximum limit of following regulative principles, but failing to understand the objective of why we are following the regulative principles. That has to be very, very clear. Understand this. So Krishna will not see that you are following the regulative principles. He will see why are you following the regulative. It's the beauty of, Krishna's. So he sits in the heart. That's why. So when we read about Krishna's position in our life, 18.61, the verse, Ishvara Sarva Bhutanam, Hrideshe Arjuna Tishtati, Brahmayana Sarva Bhutani Yantra Rudhani Mayaya. He's sitting inside everyone's heart and directing the ongoings of but not intervening on what you're doing. So what we want is our free will. What we get is from our karma, but sanctioned through Krishna. So understanding this, what he sanctions is based on our karma, and our motivation to serve him is sanctions in bhakti. Otherwise, we get as per our karma, whatever you want to do. So he doesn't make you a robot. gives you a free will, but he will sanction which is good for you if you surrender to him. Otherwise, you'll get what you get as per the karma. Does it make sense?
Yes.
Still, it is sanctioned by Krishna, but वो quota अलग. You know how someone disposes something, he gives you something. एक account होता है. ये X account में से देगा या B account में से देगा. A account में से देगा, B account में से. So if, say for example, you want something to do with the intention to enjoy yourself, say for example, you want to eat meat, you may be able to. Krishna will say, okay, he'll sanction from account A. But if you don't want to eat meat and serve Krishna, then he looks at the other account, which is your Bhaktonmati Shukrati account. Okay? Based on that, you receive that mercy. And that is what here 2.64 talks about. To be able to control his senses through regulative principles of freedom can obtain the complete mercy of the Lord. वो account B में से जब मिलता है ना, to serve Krishna with bhakti, that is the mercy of the Lord. Okay. And that may not be pleasure only. Okay. That may not be pleasure only. Why? Why it is always not pleasure? Sometimes the bhakti can be pleasure, right? You get a mercy of the Lord, सब अच्छा चल रहा है. Sometimes it may not be. Why is that?
Because we are on earth, and
Yeah, that is one thing. Yes,
there's pleasure and pain both on earth.
yes. But when it is given to you with your Bhaktonmati Shukruti, with when you have the intention to serve Krishna, you will get what is beneficial for you, not what you want. So what is beneficial for you sometimes can be painful.
A suffering or pain also.
So for example, say you're in a situation which is very difficult to come out of it. Okay, you may think that I'm not doing that well and maybe in the bhakti, that's why I'm getting this pain. But it may be that pain so that you get enhanced. You might take a decision which might be good for you based on that painful situation. So the example is Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada gave a very painful life in the beginning. But ultimately his motivation was only to serve Krishna. That's why he could build thousands of temples and create so many communities, so many disciples. Initially he was nothing. A lot of pain he got. A lot of painful, experiences he got. The people who used to smoke drugs and throw smoke at him, but he still continued that, his devotion for the Lord. So ultimately, you see, so it's the intention, what is seen, to receive the complete mercy of the Lord. So this is 2.64. And a person who's free from any moha or dvesha. Understand moha and desha very clearly. Moha is something that you want to do even if it is wrong. Dvesha is something that you don't want to do even if it is right. Okay. That's the understanding. Very clear on this one. So please read the purport when you get a chance. We'll move on to the next verse, 2.65. This is very nice verse. So this is what we were coming to at. Mercy. What is the mercy of the Lord? It's called prasad. Please repeat after me. Prasade sarva dukkhanam.
Prasade sarva dukkhanam.
Hani sarasyopajayate.
Hani
Hani
rasyopajayate.
asyopajayate.
Prasanna chetaso hyashu.
Prasanna cetaso
Chetasho
yasu.
asu.
Buddhi parivatisthate.
Buddhi
Buddhi
pariyavastishtati.
parivatishthathe.
Prasade sarva dukkhanam.
Prasade sarva
Prasade sarva
dukkhanam.
dukkhanam.
Hani rasyopajayate.
Hani
Hani
rasyopajayate.
asyopajayate.
Prasanna chetaso hyashu.
Prasanna
Prasanna
cetaso
chetaso
yasu.
yasu.
Buddhi parevatiष्ठते.
Buddhi
Buddhi
pariyavastishtati.
parivatishthathe.
For one who is satisfied in Krishna consciousness, that means one who is satisfied with the reciprocation of the Lord itself. That is, on just receiving the mercy of the Lord, whatever way it comes, he's satisfied. Pain or pleasure doesn't matter. What he understands is that whatever I'm getting is for the betterment of my bhakti. Of course, there may be some material impact that continues, keeps it away from the bhakti. So this is the understanding we have to be very, very clear. Buddhi parevathishtate. One's intelligence soon well established. So what does this mean? One who is satisfied in prasad of Krishna, the threefold miseries of the material existence exist no longer. Does it mean that when we are fully surrendered to Krishna and we satisfied in Krishna consciousness, कोई problem नहीं होगा हमारे साथ?
Problem hoga, but we will be able to handle it,
How?
and
तकलीफ
with
नहीं
the
होगी.
intelligence that we'll get
What
from
is that?
तकलीफ नहीं होगी.
decision, good
क्यों
decision
नहीं होगी?
abilities.
Very nice. That is correct. So buddhi helps you in correct decision making. लेकिन क्यों नहीं होगी तकलीफ?
क्योंकि उसके लिए डिजायर नहीं है.
Desire तकलीफ के लिए नहीं है?
नहीं, to desire to have a thing, and if you don't get it, so
नहीं है?
that will not give you a pain. If
I see. So that means that what you desire for, if you don't get it, you don't feel that pain that I didn't receive it, but still continue. Very good, very good thought. What else can you think of? Why Krishna says that you would not get material pain, threefold miseries exist no longer for that person?
Because you're no longer on that level. You've reached on a higher level where you're indifferent to
Yes,
miseries of material existence.
very nice. So what is that? What makes you at that level? What is that other thought? What is that thought process or the mindset you you have to be on that level? Is my question correct?
But yeah, it's the satisfied consciousness.
Very nice. Satisfied consciousness. In what terms? So intelligence, yes. I have the understanding that yes, this is all I'm receiving as a prasad from Krishna, good or bad.
Mm.
But what is the further thought beyond it? Any experience which will help you to understand? Any realization that may help you to understand? Just an extended thought. I'm just pushing you all to think a little bit more on that. थोड़ा extension सोच के.
actually ना सवाल पूरा नहीं समझा मुझे.
अच्छा, एक तो है कि कॉन्शियसनेस हमारी बेटर हो रही है ये सोच के कि जो भी मिल रहा है हमें,
That is
जो
more
हमारे
secure.
बेनिफिट के लिए वो मिल रहा है,
Hmm.
that's fine, play pain or pleasure, but am I improving in bhakti? That's my whole purpose, and I'm doing my other work as it is which I was doing. What is the extended thought beyond that to understand that miseries exist नहीं करती ज्यादा मेरे लिए? I don't find the miseries are there for me. Anything else which you can think of? Did you answer the question?
Mm.
I think
और क्या thought हो सकता है?
this was my answer to your previous question,
हाँ.
that
So
miseries will exist for you. I mean, I mean,
yes,
issues will come in your life, no matter
yes,
how much puja arti or you do,
yes,
or meditation you do, or chanting you do, but it will not impact you.
correct. Okay, it will not impact you. Correct.
It will soft
Any
landing basically.
yeah, correct. So it is like a cushion you have,
Mm.
which will be like, traveling in a tractor as compared to traveling in a Mercedes with very high shock absorbers. Perfectly right.
Mm.
एक or extended thought I'm looking for. Some more, maybe. Something more to add on to this. Okay. How can a bad experience give you benefits? ये इसके ऊपर सोच के देखो.
I can answer that. It helps you to evolve actually.
Very nice.
I have experienced this personally.
Very nice.
Yes.
So what does a bad experience give you when you receive? So
Ex-
are we not wanting that sometimes in our life to
Yes,
learn
yes.
pain? There is a whole chapter, not a chapter, I would say, a whole prasanga of Kunti Maharani. in Srimad Bhagavatam, where she prays to the Lord, saying that you give me more pain because I remember more of you when I am in pain. And that pain, actually, when I get, it helps me, you know, understand what happens after, which makes more sense to me because of that pain. You open up the windows of my brain, of my intelligence so much that I understand later what is happening with me is due to that pain which you had given. So give me those more so that I remember more about you in pain, and then I become more happy when I get pleasure, of course, thinking that it was given by Krishna too. So you see, this is Vishnu Smaranam. This is Krishna Nam Smaranam. This is how you think about the Lord in pain and the pleasure. So for that person who has that kind of an understanding and experience, what is miseries? You know,
Mm.
thinks that. So there was a person, which you might find his reference in some of the Gaur Gopal Prabhu's lectures also. There was a person, very nice devotee, very staunch devotee. Suddenly he was rectified with cancer. There was a particular cancer he was rectified with. Starts with M, melanoma, something like
Melanoma?
that.
Melanoma is skin cancer.
Yeah, melanoma cancer. He was rectified with that. And he had a very small child, just 3, 4 months old child, and a wife. And he left his body in a temple next to his guru. Everyone was around him was chanting for him. Nobody could imagine the pain he was going through because it is very painful to be in that situation of that disease, you know, at the end of his life. But he was happy, you know. The doctor who was treating him, he came up and gave a comment when he left his body, he was smiling. Never seen such patients. Very few. He was smiling when he left his body. When he left his body, we were asking him the question that he was happy to understand that I know when I will be going to the next abode, and hopefully that is Krishna's abode. Happy to know his time to leave his body. He says, this is a blessing given to me by the Lord that I know when I will leave. Unfortunately, nobody knows about it. You see? So he was given a time frame that you will leave your body between this and that. So he said, does this information is received by anyone else in the world? No. But they leave the body like that, right? How fortunate am I to know that I will leave at this time? At least I can plan to chant the name of the Lord right at that point. How good is that? See, this is
Mm.
how a person in Krishna consciousness thinks. This is being satisfied. What would other person in different consciousness would think? Oh my God, what all things I have to take care of. He will think about everything but Krishna. So this is the difference between a devotee who is well established. Intelligence is well established. So he thinks that whatever has happened is because of this reason, and he's happy to receive that kind of mercy of the Lord. I'm not saying that you pray what Kunti Maharani is praying. Please don't. Okay? It is very difficult because what Kunti Maharani went through her life is like really painful, very painful. Even the Pandavas. We don't copy. Chapter 3 will tell us, don't do, just do your own bit. Don't try to imitate others. We will come to that verse in chapter 3 later. But the point is, the understanding we get from this is why can't we think in that way, at least a desire that at least give me that kind of a mindset, that kind of consciousness where I'm fully satisfied, no matter what comes in my life. I take it as the prasad. Prasade sarva dukkhana. Understanding this, that prasad will serve everything. There is nothing more that is required except the mercy of the Lord in this world. If that understanding becomes very clear to us, we are fixed in the correct intelligence. This is also termed as Hari Kripa. So when something goes well in our favor, we say Hari Kripa. Doesn't go in our favor, then it is Hari Ichha. Because that is against our will, right? When something is gone against our will, we don't like it, right? If it goes against our will, definitely we don't like it. That's the only thing, right? So will is where. So we are given free will. But sanction is never guaranteed. But what is guaranteed? You have the choice of understanding this. Being in the right consciousness is your choice. Is it making sense?
Yes.
This,
So we'll move on to.
I'm a little bit tired, so this and the previous class I will definitely watch again.
Okay. So we will move on to 2.66. Read this verse. Nasti buddhir ayuktasya
Nasti
Nasti
buddhir
buddhi
yuktasya
ayuktasya
cha na cha yuktasya bhavana.
न
चायुक्तस्य
चायुक्तस्य
भावना
भावना
Cha bhavayatah shanti
न च
न
न
भावयतः
चाभावयतः
शान्तिर्
शान्तिः
चाशान्तिर्
ashantasya kutah sukham.
अशान्तस्य
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 कुतः
सुखम्
कुतः
सुखम्
सुखम्
Nasti buddhir yuktasya Nasti buddhir ayuktasya
नास्ति
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 बुद्धिरयुक्तस्य
बुद्धिरयुक्तस्य
cha yuktasya bhavana.
न
न
चायुक्तस्य
न
चायुक्तस्य
भावना
भावना
चायुक्तस्य भावना
न चा bhavayatah shanti
न
न
न
चाभावयतः
चाभावयतः शान्तिः
शान्तिर्
ashantasya kutah sukham.
अशान्तस्य
अशान्तस्य
सुखम्
कुतः सुखम्
So
सुखम्
now one who is satisfied, okay, one who is not connected with the Supreme. So this is how Krishna explains, if you see all the verses. First he will say, this is what? And then he goes on a niti. Naiti means negation. What if you don't? So if you are in fixed in Krishna consciousness, you get, this. If you are not connected with the Supreme, then he is giving this naiti. So person who's not connected to the Supreme, what does this mean? One who's not connected with the Supreme, what kind of activity that person is doing?
satisfying own desires,
What is that one word?
attachments,
enjoying
Uh, yes. One word in Sanskrit.
asakti,
That is attachment.
attachment is. Sense gratification in English, right?
Sense gratification in Sanskrit.
In Sanskrit, yeah. See, I'm out of zone today. I'm so tired.
That's okay. That's okay. That's okay. That's okay. That's okay.
Mm,
तो आत्मतुष्टि
Atma, Atma-tushti,
हाँ जी आत्मसं
Atma-santushti. Yeah, but a process which is standard, standard for everyone. It's called bhoga.
भोग
mm,
yes
So when
right
you enjoy, it's called bhoga.
and
And when you serve to the Lord, it's called yoga.
योग
yoga
So it is that intention of doing anything.
yes.
It just changes that activity into bhoga yoga. How beautiful is that?
हम्म
Just one intention of doing anything for that matter. One thing I'm doing, am I doing it for the pleasure of the Lord? Yoga. If the answer is yes. No, bhoga. Simple. See. Now, when I'm doing it for the pleasure of the Lord, yes, yoga, bhakti. straight away. Bhakti yoga. Now, work is karma. Yes, correct. In the service of the Lord, yoga. Karma, yoga. For the pleasure of the Lord, add bhakti into it. So that's how you differentiate between karma, karma yoga, and bhakti. सब अलग अलग चीजें हैं, मिक्स नहीं करना इनको। हमें पूरा खिचड़ी बना के चलते हैं सब लोग, प्रॉब्लम हो जाता है फिर। इट हैज टू बी अंडरस्टूड वेरी क्लियरली। कर्म योग, ज्ञान योग, ध्यान योग, ये अलग से भी प्रैक्टिस होता है, बिना चैंटिंग, बिना साधना किए कृष्ण की। ये सब चीजें होती हैं। बट व्हेन यू डू इट फॉर द प्लेजर ऑफ द लॉ, ऑल दीज थिंग्स, देन इट बिकम्स भक्ति। ये हम लोग कर्मयोग में इसके बारे में डिटेल में समझेंगे, बट एट द मोमेंट जस्ट ट्राई टू कीप इट सेपरेट। डोंट थिंक देर ऑल द सेम। सो कृष्णा इज गिविंग वेरियस पाथ्स टू अर्जुन। चैप्टर 3 शुरू होगा तो कंफ्यूजन दूसरा शुरू होगा, वो देखेंगे बाद में। सो ट्राई टू अंडरस्टैंड, ही इज गिविंग डिफरेंट पाथ्स एट दिस पॉइंट ऑफ टाइम। वो सब अलग अलग। अभी कौन से पाथ बता रहे हैं अभी उसको? अभी एक वर्ड जो कॉमन है, कितने वर्सेस से हम लोग पढ़ रहे हैं, किसी का ध्यान गया? एक वर्ड जो कॉमन है।
बुद्धि।
वेरी गुड। हु वाज दैट? हु गिव दैट आंसर? विशाखा। Perfect. Buddhi. So he's telling Buddhi Yoga.
हम्म।
Buddhi Yoga is also termed as Jnana Yoga. Okay. So that is one path. ये कैसे? What is this? Basically, to gain your knowledge through intelligence, to increase your knowledge through intelligence. That is Buddhi Yoga. So here he is giving all these kind of understanding. So now, one who is not connected with the Supreme can have neither transcendental intelligence nor a steady mind. So what is the prerequisite of anything for that matter is the connection with the Lord. That means you should be in yoga. First things first, भोग से बाहर निकल के योग में आना, ये पहला स्टेप है। That's what Krishna is telling. भक्ति बाद में होगी, कनेक्शन होना चाहिए पहले। भक्ति इज फॉर द प्लेजर ऑफ द लॉर्ड। उसके पहले कनेक्शन चाहिए। कनेक्शन मतलब, आर वी कनेक्टिंग व्हाट वी आर डूइंग टू कृष्ण? उसकी सर्विस में सोच रहे हैं क्या? मोटिवेशन क्या है कुछ काम करने का? फॉर एग्जाम्पल, a person might build wealth, continue working doing this. What is his end goal? वो उसी को ही पता। अगर नहीं पता तो ही इज ड्राइविंग अ कार विदाउट द स्टीयरिंग, राइट? चलते जा रहा है, डायरेक्शन पता नहीं। सबसे पहले तो वो प्रॉब्लम है, उसको पहले ठीक करना पड़ेगा, भाई करना क्या है तेरे को अल्टीमेटली, व्हाट डू यू वांट फ्रॉम योर लाइफ? नाउ दैट विल, द पर्पस विल डिफाइन whether it's bhoga or yoga. So 2 steps में समझ में आती बात। स्ट्रेट अवे ऐसा नहीं है। So person who is not have any goal, बस पैसे कमा। Some person, once I was talking to one, that he's the richest man in the world. Okay, so why does he want to bus? He wants to become a richest man. But why do you think, if you give a chance, I will also become a richest person. But why? पता नहीं, बस बनना है। अरे लेकिन क्यों, वो पता नहीं। अच्छा ठीक है भाई, उससे ज्यादा I can't ask any more things because then it's your, completely your baby. If you don't know why you're doing things, then there is some serious problem, I think. Correct? इसने बोल दिया कर दिया तुमने, क्यों नहीं पूछा? तो वो मेरे ख्याल से दैट इज कॉल्ड, व्हाट इट इज कॉल्ड, लेबर वर्क, गधा मजूरी, रैट रेस, जस्ट रनिंग, डोंट नो व्हाई. सो इफ यू इवन विन द रेस, यू आर स्टिल अ रैट, ऐसे बोलते हैं. यू नो, बुद्धि नहीं आई तुम्हारे अंदर. तो पर्पस डिफाइंस यू वेदर यू आर अ रैट, गधा और अ ह्यूमन. यू नो, चैतन्य महाप्रभु एक्सप्लेन द्विपद पशु, two-legged animal, he says in Chaitanya Charitamrita. So don't be a dvipada pashu, have a purpose of life, and if that purpose is connected with the supreme, then you're in yoga. Making sense?
Yes.
So a person who's not connected with the supreme can neither have transcendental intelligence, भूल जाओ, nor a steady mind, वो भी नहीं मिलेगा उसको, fickle mind होगा उसको, because he doesn't know why is he doing. ये वही पर्सन है. अब ऐसा अगर बंदा है कोई, उसको शांति कहाँ से मिलेगी? वो शांति ढूंढ रहा है. सब लोग, मेरे को कुछ नहीं चाहिए, मेरे को बस शांति चाहिए. अरे कैसा मिलेगा? ये प्रीरिक्विजिट है उसका, वो पहला पार नहीं किया. So this is Krishna's simple instruction. Without this understanding the purpose of your life, there is no possibility of peace. आएगा ही नहीं, वो fickle minded रहे. But I've seen people, जल्दी नहीं करना, अरे ये करना है, वो करना है, वो करना है, तो मालूम नहीं क्यों करना है, बस ये करना है. The last statement is very important. And how can there be any happiness without peace? There is no sukham. कुतः सुखम, अशांतस्य कुतः सुखम. अशांत व्यक्ति को सुख कहां से मिलेगा? So that peace requires purpose. The purpose define the purpose requires intelligence. That is buddhi yoga. This is buddhi. तो अगर डेफिनेशन नहीं है हमारे पास, हमारा पर्पस का पता नहीं है, तो फर्स्ट थिंग इज दैट वी शुड नो व्हाई आर वी, क्यों कर रहे हैं सब. आई हैव सीन मेनी पीपल हु कम इन से, प्रभु जी बहुत हो गया भाई, शांति चाहिए. लेकिन तेरे को करना क्या है लाइफ में, ये तो बता. जब भी पैसा वैसा कमाया, हाँ, वो सब क्या करना है अल्टीमेटली, वो पता नहीं है, लेकिन शांति चाहिए. Krishna is negating that fact. At first, find out what is your purpose, and then that will establish whether you are in yoga or you are in bhoga. And someone who is not in yoga, it will be very difficult for him to have a steady mind. And no peace, of course, and no happiness, of course. Simple, yeah? Scientific about it, logical है काफी, this verse, very, very logical. 2.66, 2.67. इंद्रियाणं हि चरताम्
Indriya
Indriyanam hi
Indriyanam
charatam
यन्मनो अनुविधीयते
yan
yanmano
Yanmano
anuvidhiyate
Anuvidhyate
ततस्य हरति प्रज्ञान्
Tadasya
tadasya
तदस्य
Harati
harati
हरति
Prajna
prajnam
प्रज्ञाम्
आयुर्नावमिवाम्भसि.
Ayurnam
Vayurnavam
Vivambhasi
वायुर्नावमिवाम्भसि
इन्द्रियाणां हि चरिताम्
Indriyanam
Indriyanam
hi
इन्द्रियाणां हि
charitam
Charatam
चरताम्
यन्मनो अनुविधीयते
yanmano
यन्मनो
Yanmano
anuvidhiyate
अनुविधीयते
Anuvidhyate
ततस्य हरति प्रज्ञा
tadasya
Tadasya
तदस्य
harati
Harati
हरति
prajnam
Prajna
प्रज्ञाम्
वायुर्नाम्भि वायुर्नावमिवाम्भसि.
Ayurnam
Vayurnavam
Vivambhasi
वायुर्नावमिवाम्भसि
इन्द्रियाणां हि चरताम्
Indriyanam hi
Indriyanam
इन्द्रियाणां
hi
हि
charatam
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 यन्मनो अनुविधीयते
yanmano
यन्मनो
anuvidhiyate
अनुविधीयते
ततस्य हरति प्रज्ञा
तदस्य
तस्य
हरति
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 प्रज्ञाम्
प्रज्ञाम्
आयुर्नावम् इवाम्भसि.
आयुर्नैवमिवाम्भसि.
आयुर्नैवाम्भसि.
Someone like to read the translation?
Yeah. As a strong wind sweeps away a boat on the water, even one of the roaming senses on which the mind focuses can carry away a man's intelligence.
See how this is connected to the previous one? So what was we spoke about? Steady mind,
Hmm.
purpose.
Hmm.
अभी पर्पस जब हम लोग डिफाइन करते हैं ना, हमारा पर्पस को टिका के रखना बहुत मुश्किल है. दैट्स व्हाट ही इज सेइंग.
Correct.
क्योंकि वो पर्पस को डिफाइन तो कर दिया हम लोगों ने कि ये मेरा पर्पस है लाइफ का, लेकिन जो हमारे सेंसेस है ना, एक भी बिदकता है तो वो पूरा पर्पस गिर जाता है. और वो सेंस क्यों भटकता है? वो बिकॉज द माइंड फोकसेस ऑन दैट. सो द आइडिया ऑफ मंत्र is to bring back the mind to our purpose. That is why chanting. We emphasize on chanting. सुबह को चैंट करो, सुबह को चैंट करो. ये जब मन फिक्स्ड है एक पर्पस में कि ये जीवन में ये करना है. योग फॉर एग्जाम्पल, आई वांट टू बी कनेक्टेड टू द सुप्रीम एंड वांट टू सर्व द लॉर्ड. अगर ये पर्पस है तो ये पर्पस टिका रहे, उसके लिए चैंटिंग करते हैं. ब्रिंग बैक द फोकस बैक टू आवर पर्पस.
Hmm.
And if you read the purport first, unless all of the senses are engaged in the services of the Lord, even one of them engaged in sense gratification can deviate the devotee from the path of transcendental advancement. So, engaging our senses, सुबह को, woke up, took a nice shower. Example, offer some flowers to the Lord, some agarbatti to the Lord. नाक automatically engage हो गया उसमें. Have some नरसिम्हा oil, so that your nose is engaged. Your eyes are engaged in the darshan. Start chanting, so your lips is engaged, your hands are engaged, your ears are engaged. ये सारे senses हमने engage कर दिए. सबसे active sense हमारे ears, आंखें भगवान का दर्शन अगर करती हैं, नहीं तो बंद रहती हैं. Constantly chanting the name of the Lord. Focus कैसे नहीं strong होगा? होगा. This is what we should try to do with the senses. Unlike what generally क्या होता है, सबसे पहले आंखें खुलती हैं तो सबसे पहले फोन ओपन, सबसे पहले मैसेज किसका आया. अब ऐसा नहीं है कि फोन कैन नॉट बी समथिंग वेयर यू कैन use it for the service of the Lord. Of course you can. You might see pictures of the Lord there. You can hear some kirtan, you can hear some lectures, you can hear something about the Lord. That phone itself can be used as engaging your senses. But are you? So that itself, imagine how granular this process is, that any activity can be a yoga or a bhoga. Even usage of a phone. So how do you engage yourself? That is the whole pointer. So here you have to make sure that your senses are engaged. भटकना नहीं है. वो भटकेंगे ऐसा नहीं है. You will be able to make it stronger, and all the time you will be able to fix that in your purpose. But the idea is that the percentage of utilizing your senses in the service of Krishna is more than utilizing it in the bhoga. योग में ज्यादा रहें, उसमें कम. ये कोशिश, ये डिजायर. and be careful of any sense which is deviating from this. Okay, 2.68. तस्मादस्य महाबाहो
तस्माद् यस्य
यस्य
तस्मादस्य
महाबाहो
महाबाहो
गृहीतानि सर्वशः
गृहीतानि
निगृहीतानि
सर्वशः
निगृहीतानि सर्वतः
इन्द्रियाणीन्द्रियार्थस्य
इन्द्रियाणि
इन्द्रियार्थस्य
इन्द्रियार्थेभ्यः
तस्य प्रज्ञा प्रतिष्ठिता
तस्य
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 प्रज्ञा
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 प्रतिष्ठिता
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 तस्मादस्य महाबाहो
तस्माद्
तस्मादस्य
तस्मादस्य
यस्य
महाबाहो
महाबाहो
गृहीतानि सर्वशः
गृहीतानि
गृहीतानि
सर्वशः
सर्वशः
इन्द्रियाणि
इन्द्रियाणीन्द्रियार्थेभ्यः
इन्द्रियार्थेभ्यः
तस्य प्रज्ञा प्रतिष्ठिता
तस्य
तस्य
प्रज्ञा
प्रज्ञा
तस्य प्रज्ञा
प्रतिष्ठिता
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 तस्माद्यस्य महाबाहो
तस्मादस्य
तस्माद्यस्य
तस्मादस्य
महाबाहो
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 निगृहीतानि सर्वशः
निगृहीतानि
निगृहीतानि
सर्वशः
सर्वशः
इन्द्रियाणीन्द्रियार्थेभ्यः
इन्द्रियाणि
इन्द्रियाणीन्द्रियार्थेभ्यः
इन्द्रियार्थेभ्यः
तस्य प्रज्ञा प्रतिष्ठिता
तस्य
तस्य
प्रज्ञा
तस्य
प्रज्ञा
प्रज्ञा
प्रतिष्ठिता
प्रतिष्ठिता
Someone like to read the translation?
May I
Yeah.
translation by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Therefore, a mighty armed, one whose senses are restrained from their objects, is certainly of steady intelligence. Thank you,
So
Prabhu.
steady intelligence. See? So when we are restrained from the objects, then our intelligence is enlightened. So intelligence becomes stronger, becomes steady. So this is further extension to and why is he called Mahabaho? Here Krishna is addressing Arjuna as Mahabaho. Mahabaho means the one who tackles all his enemies very nicely.
Enemies.
So
Yeah.
similarly, he's telling him the way you tackle them, tackle your senses. Okay. So as enemies are curbed by superior force, the senses can similarly be curbed. Curb का मतलब क्या है?
restrained.
Curb का मतलब restrained,
control
controlled. Anyone else?
Put a stop.
Put a stop. Okay. कर्ब का मतलब है डेविएशन, उसको घुमाना है. वो सेंसेस को ना हम लोग बंद नहीं कर पाएंगे अनफॉर्चुनेटली. वो कुछ ना कुछ उसको चाहिए. उसका जो कंपैरिजन किया गया ना माइंड का, हु इज द मास्टर ऑफ ऑल सेंसेस, उसको बंदर से कंपेयर किया गया. लाइक अ मंकी. वो एक चुपचाप नहीं बैठेगा वो. उसको कुछ ना कुछ चाहिए. बच्चा भी ऐसा ही होता है ना, छोटा बच्चा. म- बंदर के बच्चे से कंपेयर किया है उसको. बच्चा वो भी बंदर का. कांट सिट आइडल. ही नीड्स समथिंग टू प्ले. दैट इज आवर माइंड. खाली नहीं रह सकते सेंसेस को, कुछ ना कुछ देना पड़ेगा. है ना, वी डू दैट या. अरे यार बैठे बैठे चलो कुछ देख लेते हैं. अरे यार कुछ खा लेते हैं. अरे यार कुछ कर. दिस इज व्हाट द सेंसेस आर. बार बार बोलते रहना. कुछ ना कुछ करना है. अब वो कुछ ना कुछ करने के लिए उनको देना है कुछ. वो उनको चाहिए. अब वो क्या करना है क्या देना है, दैट इज योर चॉइस. दैट इज कॉल्ड अ वेल ट्रेन्ड माइंड. ओवर अ पीरियड ऑफ टाइम तुम उसको फीड करोगे ना, जो भी सेंसेस को धीरे 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 तुम्हारी, एंड दैट इज योर स्ट्रेंथ बेसिकली. हाउ डू यू एक्चुअली फीड, वो क्या फीड करते हो तुम उसको, अप टू यू. चॉइस तुम्हारी है. 10 चीजें रख दी तुम्हारे सामने, उठाना तुम्हारा चॉइस है, राइट? ऑलवेज, राइट? इट्स ऑलवेज लाइक दैट। सुपर मार्केट में सब कुछ है, अच्छी भी चीजें हैं, बुरी भी चीजें हैं। इट्स अप टू यू व्हाट यू पिक अप, करेक्ट? सेम थिंग्स विद द सेंसेस, उसको फीड क्या करते हो तुम? व्हाट डू यू गिव? इट्स अप टू यू। एंड व्हेन यू गिव एनीथिंग, यू कॉन्स्टेंटली मोर मोर देते रहोगे उसको तुम, ऑटोमेटिकली वो माइंड ट्रेन हो जाएगा ओवर अ पीरियड ऑफ टाइम, फिर वो वही मांगेगा। फिर जब तुम उसको कुछ गलत दोगे ना, वो बोलेगा नहीं चाहिए मेरे को। This is the beauty of the mind. We'll explain, Krishna will explain further in chapter 6 about the, but this is the brief understanding. ऐसे स्टडी होता है वो, शुरू में अच्छा नहीं लगता वो, लेकिन उसको देने का वो भी देने का। चैंटिंग अच्छी नहीं लगेगी, थोड़ा करवाने का, ज्यादा करवाने का उसको, या गिव 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 बिट मोर, थोड़ा और भगवत गीता के वर्सेस है यार, बहुत संस्कृत है, ज्यादा समझ में नहीं आता, पढ़ो पढ़ो थोड़ा और पढ़ो। धीरे धीरे मजा आने लगेगा। फिर बाद में क्या होगा, कोई बात निकलेगी ना दूसरी, तो उसमें तुमको ये वर्स घुसेगा बीच में, दिमाग में कट करके। दैट इज योगा। वो अपने आप भोग योग में बनता जाएगा। फोर्स करने की जरूरत नहीं, यू डोंट हैव टू पुश योरसेल्फ। डज मेक सेंस?
Yeah.
जस्ट फीड इट,
Yes, Prabhu.
जस्ट फीड इट इन, धीरे धीरे तो खिलाओ उसको। यस। सुबह को उठ गए, फोन खोल के फेसबुक देखते हो, खोल के वेदाभ्यास खोल लो, भगवत गीता का वर्ष पढ़ लो, घुस जाएगा दिमाग में, पूरा दिन बजता रहेगा। तेरा बहुत होता है ऐसा लोगों के साथ। आई डू समथिंग, कुछ कुछ गुनगुनाना शुरू करूंगा, वो दूसरे भी लोग गुनगुनाना शुरू करेंगे, दे पिक अप, यू नो, और व्हाट वी सिंग, व्हाट वी से। सुबह को जो गाया पूरा दिन गाता रहता है कोई बंदा। ऐसी बहुत सारी चीजें देखी है मैंने। सो इट डिपेंड्स ऑन व्हाट यू फीड द माइंड, दैट्स हाउ माइंड फंक्शंस। ये साइक समझनी है माइंड की, ये समझ गया ना, धीरे धीरे उसको फीड किया ना, रिस्ट्रेन फ्रॉम ऑब्जेक्ट्स विच आर नॉट रिक्वायर्ड फॉर द, उसको रोक दिया, उसको वो सारी दी जो उसको चाहिए, धीरे धीरे वही मांगेगा तुमसे। दैट्स अ ब्यूटी ऑफ द माइंड। Mind can be your best friend or your biggest enemy, but depends on what you feed. So we'll stop here. 2.68. We'll continue with the other verses next time. And hopefully by this month end, we'll finish chapter 2 and start chapter 3. Much awaited chapter 3. So we got all our attendance back. So good time to get on to our chapter 3. Okay. Any questions or comments?
Prabhuji, this Saturday we have Kirtan.
Yeah, coming Saturday. That is 4th of May. 4th of May, Saturday, we have Kirtan, monthly Kirtan, mantra meditation. So whoever wants to attend, more than welcome. Kalpesh Prabhu will send all the details. Any questions or comments for the discussions we had so far?
Thank you, Prabhu, for the beautiful class. Prabhu, when it's mentioned here in the translation from one whose senses are restrained from their objects. So, Prabhu, we are talking about sensory objects, like
Correct.
anything
Correct.
that is attractive.
Correct. Anything which is apart from our um, our objects of spiritual practice or benefit to us for with respect to spiritual practices. So this is purely related to dhyana or jnana, which helps us improve our Krishna consciousness. Any object which is not helping us with our Krishna consciousness is that what we have to restrain from. That's what it is talking about.
Prabhu, restraint means there should be little effort involved here, right?
Curbing, yes. So
Yeah, it's like you have to be very strictly disciplining them.
yeah. So the idea is that curbing the senses. So it's actually simple to understand, but yeah, it's sometimes hard to follow
Yeah.
because say for example, you want to go to the gym in the morning. So I've heard people saying this. I want to go to the gym, लेकिन सुबह को ना उठना नहीं होता है पहला। अगर उठ गया और तैयार हो गया तो मैं जिम चला जाऊंगा। लेकिन वो उठ के तैयार होना नहीं होता, वो डिफिकल्ट है। सो दैट विल बी रिक्वायर्ड, वो कोई नहीं कर सकता, वो जिम वाले नहीं कर सकते तुम्हारे लिए अनफॉर्चुनेटली। वो उठ के तैयार होना हमको ही पड़ेगा।
Right. So Prabhu, when they say curbing, it means that we have to keep our senses engaged. So, for example, if we want to hear something, right? So we'll hear Krishna stories, like we'll hear Krishna bhajans. And if we want to engage ourselves into some activity, we can do chanting. Like basically, we want to eat, we should eat prasadam, right?
Yeah, yeah. It's a
So this
try
is
and do all
curbing,
that.
right?
Yeah, trying and engaging our senses into Krishna consciousness. Yeah, trying all the sense engagement in Krishna. Otherwise, the senses will always want something to enjoy.
Enjoy, yeah. So curbing them from Prabhu, the material objects to spiritual objects, basically,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
Okay, but satisfying them, getting engaging and satisfying them, but just using the right objects.
They may not be satisfied.
Yeah,
Yeah,
right, Prabhu. Yeah, but we need to give them practice. As
yeah,
you said, ki, okay, read more, chant
yeah.
more. Slowly, the taste will develop, right?
That's right. That's right.
But
So,
we'll be
for
strict
example,
with them.
in the morning you may not like, listening to Bhagavad Gita or some discourse or some Hare Krishna Kirtan, something like that. You may not like it. But say I'll give you my example. So I didn't like, in the morning to start reading or doing something. So I started putting the lectures and the Kirtan in my car because I was drive to go to work.
Mm.
So when driving to go to work, that time, which I was, whatever 20 minutes, 30 minutes I was doing, I just put the Kirtan on. Just put some lectures on. It so happened that the, that I had a USB thing and that was connected to one of the ports. It so happened when I start the car, the lecture will start. And then I switch off the car, the lecture will stop. This is how it started. And now what happens is that even if some other music is going on for some time, that's fine. Like if I'm driving to Sydney, I'm coming there for say half an hour, something. Sometimes my mind will feel something is going wrong. Change the thing to listen to lectures. So it's not me. It is my mind telling me now. Initially, I was telling my mind. So once you start seeing the reciprocation of the mind, now तभी ये समझ में आएगा तब, अरे ये वो उसकी वजह से हो रहा है. So initially तो वो क्या होगा, एक बार आप सुबह को उठ के तैयार होके जिम चले गए, ऐसा करते करते आपने 1 महीना कर दिया ना, तो जो नेक्स्ट मंथ का फर्स्ट मॉर्निंग होगा ना, उसमें अपने आप आपकी आंख खुलेगी, अपने आप नहाओगे, अपने आप बैग लेके जिम चले जाओगे. यू डोंट हैव टू पुश योरसेल्फ.
Yeah, very true, Prabhu. Like I wake up for japa session, so now every day my eyes opens itself.
अपने आप नींद
And
खुलेगी वो.
apne
ये तो दैट्स अ ट्रेनिंग.
very true, Prabhu. But Mother
So
Prabhu, basically developing good habits, right? It's just that we have to develop good habits in
well,
ourselves.
here we are they are talking about mainly about spiritual development. So it's
Spiritual
not good
habits.
habits. It is
It's
about
spiritual.
spiritual habits. You have to be very, this particular
Specific.
restraints. Yeah. So this is, you have to try and be in yoga, not in yoga. So one's whose senses are restrained from their objects, sense objects, is certainly of intelligence. That means he is becoming steady. So basically the result is that you are receiving that kind of a reciprocation from your mind.
True.
You are getting, that means your mind has been overtaken by the intelligence.
Right.
Generally the intelligence is overtaken by mind.
Yeah.
It generally ऐसा होता
उल्टा
है.
हो रहा है उनका उल्टा
तो जैसे हम लोग सुबह को उठते हैं, छोड़ना है यार, तो ये तो वो इंटेलिजेंस बोलता है ठीक है छोड़. बट जब माइंड को ट्रेन कर दिया कॉन्स्टेंटली,
हाँ.
do this, then the intelligence will dictate the mind that now wake up, it's time for chanting, wake up, it's time for the service. So then intelligence will direct the mind and mind will tell you do this.
True.
Because intelligence doesn't talk to us directly through senses, mind talks to us. Remember this.
Yeah.
इंटेलिजेंस से बात नहीं करता, इंटेलिजेंस सिर्फ बोलता है, वो भी माइंड को बोलता है.
Hmm. So the control
माइंड
will be on the mind. Prabhu. Mind is
माइंड
not.
माइंड सेंसेस को बोलता है, सेंसेस एक्चुअली करते हैं काम.
Hmm. Got you,
सो
Prabhu.
वी हैव टू बी केयरफुल ऑफ वेयर टू ट्यून. ट्यून किधर करना बहुत जरूरी है. इधर भी ट्यून नहीं कर सकते.
Hmm.
So tuning has to be with the mind, और माइंड को ट्यून किया तो वो इंटेलिजेंस, क्योंकि माइंड इंटेलिजेंस के अंडर में काम नहीं करता जनरली, और हम माइंड को ही सुनते हैं हर बार कि वही बोलता है हमसे, इंटेलिजेंस नहीं बोलता। इंटेलिजेंस सिर्फ डिसीजन, एक टिक मारता है, दिस और दिस। इट्स लाइक अ कंप्यूटर बाइनरी लैंग्वेज, वन और जीरो, खाली दो लैंग्वेज बात करता है वो बस। दैट इज इंटेलिजेंस, यस और नो, बस इतना बोलता है। माइंड कॉन्स्टेंटली बोलता है ये भी अच्छा, रसगुल्ला भी अच्छा, ये करेला बुरा, ये सब माइंड बोलता है। दिस इज ऑल माइंड।
Prabhuji, then after doing this practice, can we get rid of anger and all that bad habits? Like, yeah.
Anger we had done last time. I will repeat that verse for you. So there is a verse in why anger arises, and we need to understand who's getting angry. So I'll just open this verse for you quickly.
Desires, Prabhu. Frustration.
Yes, you are correct actually.
Incomplete
So
desires.
this is the verse which we did. Are you able to see my screen?
Yes, Prabhu.
ध्यायतो विषयान् पुंसः संगन्तेषु उपजायते, संगत संजायते कामा, कामात् क्रोध विजायते. So क्रोध is a after effect of contemplating on, number one, thinking too much about sense gratification, one, getting attached to them, two, then after that enjoying them and not getting them brings in krodha. And what is actually getting angry is nothing but your ahankar, your false ego. So if you are able to curb your thoughts into the service of the Lord, even if someone, say for example, someone tells me that if I'm thinking about the Lord, someone disturbs me, I get angry. So it is not that way. If you're thinking about the Lord, then you should not get angry. Whatever happens, फर्क ही नहीं पड़ना चाहिए. That means you're not in the thoughts of the Lord. You know, उधर उधर वो सोचना है कि मैं कौन से ख्यालों में हूँ. ये ख्यालों में कि कोई मुझे डिस्टर्ब कर रहा है, और पर्सन स्पेसिफिक और इवेंट स्पेसिफिक हूँ, और आई एम रियली इमर्स इन द थॉट्स ऑफ द लॉर्ड. आई एम रियली सर्विंग द लॉर्ड. सो इफ आई एम रियली कंटेम्पलेटिंग सेंस ऑब्जेक्ट्स और वो नहीं मिल रहे हैं, तो क्रोध आता है, क्योंकि वो डिजायर है वो फुलफिल नहीं हुई. अब ये डिजायर ये भी हो सकती है कि सुबह को उठ के मैं 5 बजे उठ के चैंटिंग करूंगा फॉर एग्जाम्पल, और ऐसा हुआ कि सुबह को 5 बजे उठ के चैंटिंग की, और किसी ने आके ना दरवाजा खटखटाया, जोर जोर से आवाज करना शुरू कर दिया, हम लोग गुस्सा हो गए उसके ऊपर. सो दैट दैट इज अगेन, you are asking for a very nice clean, एकदम साइलेंट एनवायरनमेंट, वो मिले मुझे नहीं मिला. But are you still immersed in the thoughts of Krishna? That is the question. 5 बजे सुबह को प्लान क्या था? भगवान का ध्यान करना ना. आवाज का तो प्लान नहीं था कुछ भी, वो हो गई, लेकिन तुम्हारा पर्पस तो सॉल्व करो. सो द आइडिया इज टू बी अगेन ब्रिंगिंग बैक टू द थॉट्स ऑफ द. सो व्हाट आर यू कंटेम्पलेटिंग, व्हाट आर यू थिंकिंग? कोई भी सिचुएशन है, यू आर कॉन्स्टेंटली थिंकिंग अबाउट व्हाट, द सिचुएशन और द थॉट्स ऑफ द लॉर्ड. So if we are able to manage our thoughts, that's what Krishna is saying, then we will be able to control our attachment for those thoughts, कि ये मेरे को चाहिए, ये नहीं चाहिए, उससे परे हो जाएंगे. जब उससे परे हो गए तो डिजायर से परे हो गए, मटेरियल डिजायर से. उससे अगर परे हो गए तो क्रोध बहुत कम हो जाएगा. तो क्रोध का ये बैरोमीटर है, उसका ट्यूनिंग पॉइंट यहाँ पे है. व्हाट आर यू थिंकिंग? कॉन्स्टेंटली आपके दिमाग में क्या चल रहा है? क्या इवेंट्स हैं, क्या लोग हैं? इवेंट्स एंड लोग जनरली क्रोध उत्पन्न करते हैं. और जो हमें चाहिए होता है, जो भोग की वस्तु है, वो जनरली ये तीन अगर हमारे दिमाग में कॉन्स्टेंटली हैं, तो ये क्रोध उत्पन्न करती है. इनको
So
रिप्लेस करके, हाँ.
so we don't have to put those things in our mind, situation, events, whatever. We have to put always in Krishna in mind.
एग्जैक्टली.
And if Krishna is in mind and somebody is shouting at your chanting time, so then
फिर तो क्रोध का
Krishna,
सवाल ही नहीं है. क्रोध का सवाल ही नहीं है. आएगा नहीं क्रोध। अगर ध्यान ध्यान और मन लगाए राधा रानी के चरणों में, क्रोध कहाँ
हम्म,
से आएगा?
It is
नहीं
an
और
intermediate process.
तो कहाँ से आएगा क्रोध? अगर क्रोध आ रहा है मतलब ध्यान नहीं है। ये कैच 22 है। और क्रोध किसको आ रहा है? मुझे ही आ रहा है। ध्यान में
हम्म,
कौन है? वो भी मैं ही हूँ। तो या तो मैं ध्यान में नहीं हूँ, या तो मैं क्रोध में हूँ। वो मैं ही हूँ ना।
हम्म,
सो इट्स मी, इट्स नॉट अदर पर्सन एक्चुअली। अब कई बार ऐसा होता है कि जैसे मैं भक्तों से मिला हूँ जो, उसको कुछ भी वो, सामने वाला परेशान हो जाता है, उसको क्रोध नहीं आता, सामने वाले को, उसको, भक्तों को क्रोध नहीं आता। और इसको क्रोध आता है कि इसको क्रोध क्यों नहीं आ रहा है।
हम्म,
तो ऐसा भी होता है। कईयों को ये लगता है कि तुमको क्रोध क्यों नहीं आ रहा है। वो स्टेज बेटर है ज्यादा। इसमें इसमें अहंकार आने की जरूरत नहीं कि ऐसा आ गया तो उनको फर्क ही नहीं पड़ता कोई।
because
कई
they're
देखे हैं ऐसे।
thinking about Krishna.
हाँ, दे आर ऑलवेज इन द फीट ऑफ राधा रानी। And Radharani's feet, which I feel is, much more peaceful for me as compared to thinking about Krishna, because it's a easy access. वो डिवोटी के थ्रू है ना,
Mm.
तो जल्दी काम करती है राधा रानी के
So
चरण।
think about Radharani's Charan.
It's actually the best. Yeah, if you
Okay.
can
And what about Matsarya,
contemplate,
Prabhu?
yeah. What
Matsarya?
is
How will get rid of
Matsarya?
Matsarya?
That is also a
Yeah.
vikar on us that we want that kind of
It,
a feeling.
I mean,
मजा आता है।
uh, so it
We
comes
want that feeling.
automatically. I mean, we are not at that level. How will we get rid
Yeah,
of
that
that?
that that feeling. That's what Srila Prabhupada always said. Everything is good if it is for Krishna. Now, how can I? उसमें भी राधा रानी के चरण है। अगर वो फीलिंग आती भी है हमारे अंदर, स्ट्रेट अवे इफ आवर थॉट गोज टू राधा रानी फीट, वी आर डन। लेकिन अगर उसको भोगने में चले गए हम लोग उसमें, दैट वी आर गोइंग द रॉन्ग पाथ, अगेन इट्स अप टू अस। व्हाट पाथ आर यू टेकिंग? इट्स कंप्लीटली योर चॉइस।
So at that time, we should pray also to Radharani. Please make
एब्सोल्युटली,
my mind, please come, please make
एब्सोल्युटली।
curve to my
और
mind.
आप,
Yeah.
बिल्कुल, और आप टाइमिंग देखो। इसके टाइमिंग इतने गजब है कि सुबह को जैसे 6 बजे उठ के, हमने 5 बजे उठ के हम अगर प्रेयर्स करते हैं राधा रानी के चरणों में, हम लोग चैंटिंग करते हैं, तो ये भाव आने का टाइम वो डिफिकल्ट होता है, नहीं आते वो टाइम। लेकिन अगर पार्टी करनी है, दूसरे रस भोगने हैं, उसका टाइम अलग है।
Mm.
तो इसीलिए ये सुबह का टाइम, ये कोई भी रिलीजन देखेंगे ना हम लोग, कोई भी धर्म उठा लें, मुस्लिम या क्रिश्चियंस या
Mm. Mm.
हिंदूज या वैष्णव जो भी हैं, एवरीवन प्रेज इन द मॉर्निंग। एक कॉमन चीज है सब में, सब भगवान को उठ के सुबह को प्रेयर करते हैं, एंड दैट इज अ कॉमन थिंग अमंग ऑल, बिकॉज दैट टाइम इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट। So prayers are good, but timing is also good. You have to think what timing are you praying. Yeah.
Low
Okay.
balls. All the vikar we
Vikar.
have to
Yes. Yes.
think
Yes.
about Krishna,
Yes.
Radharani's charan.
So there are different steps in, rather different stages in bhakti. In Navada bhakti जिसको बोलते हैं हम
Mm.
लोग, शुरू शुरू में श्रद्धा से शुरू होती है वो।
Swaran, uh, that listening,
श्रवण
Shravan.
कीर्तन तो वो प्रोसेसेस हैं। दैट
Okay.
दोज आर द प्रोसेसेस, दीज आर स्टेजेस ऑफ भक्ति।
Okay.
ये जैसे बिल्डिंग में जाते हैं ना, ग्राउंड फ्लोर, फर्स्ट फ्लोर, सेकंड फ्लोर, ये वो है। और वो
Mm.
है डिफरेंट टाइप्स, और डिफरेंट टाइप्स ऑफ भक्ति जो आप प्रैक्टिस करके इन लेवल्स में कहीं पे भी जा सकते हो, नीचे से ऊपर।
Okay.
श्रवण कीर्तन एक प्रोसेस है, विष्णु स्मरणन एक प्रोसेस है, वो बाद में आत्म निवेदन दूसरी प्रोसेस है, आत्मसमर्पण सेवम दूसरी प्रोसेस है,
Mm.
सेवक बन के फिर मित्र बन के करो आप। तो ये
Mm.
सारे अलग अलग प्रोसेस हैं, किस तरह से आप भक्ति करते हो वो आपके ऊपर है, दैट इज योर चॉइस, बेस्ड
Mm.
ऑन योर नेचर।
Okay.
उस हिसाब से भक्ति करते हो। ये है डिफरेंट स्टेजेस
Let's.
कि
Okay.
ग्राउंड फ्लोर, फर्स्ट फ्लोर, थर्ड फ्लोर, सेकंड फ्लोर।
Mm.
तो सबसे पहले वो है श्रद्धा।
Mm. Yeah.
श्रद्धा बड़ी उसमें, फेथ, है ना। आप धीरे
Mm.
धीरे आए भगवान के चरणों में, आपकी श्रद्धा बढ़ी, राधा रानी के बारे में आपने सोचा, यही मेरे को, दे कैन टेक मी,
Mm.
दे कैन एक्चुअली डिलीवर मी। तो ये
Mm.
श्रद्धा है। लेकिन ये बड़ी
Shraddha.
शेकी होती है श्रद्धा। इसको बनाना, बनाना ट्री से कन्फ्लिक्ट, इसको कंपेयर किया है कि जैसे अगर तेज हवा आएगी तो बनाना ट्री पूरा झुल जाएगा, कोई भी आपको हिला के चला जाएगा। तो उसके ऊपर है भजन क्रिया, उसके ऊपर आप चैंटिंग क्रिएट करो ज्यादा। तो जब आप भजन क्रिया करते हो, भजन कीर्तन करते हो, तो उससे आपकी श्रद्धा
हम्म,
इंप्रूव होती, एडवांस होती। तो भजन क्रिया के बाद आता है साधु संग। तो साधु संग बहुत जरूरी है। अब उसमें डिवोटी एसोसिएशन। अब ये क्योंकि आप भजन खुद करोगे, तो आपको आपकी बुद्धि थोड़ी आगे डेवलप होगी इस तरह से कि आपको पता पड़ेगा कि साधु कौन है। नहीं तो आपको लगेगा कि सब साधु हैं, सबके साथ बैठ गए और आराम से, तो बोलोगे यार में इम्प्रूवमेंट नहीं हो रहा है। क्यों नहीं हो रहा? क्योंकि आपको
तो
साधु
साधु
ढूंढना है।
तो
उसके
मुश्किल
लिए
है मिलना।
डिवोटी,
ओके, एनी
डिवोटी, देयर
ओके,
आर डिवोटीज।
ऑलराइट।
सो डिवोटीज कौन है? डिवोटी सच्चे भक्त कौन है? प्योर डिवोटी कौन है? उसके लिए आपको खुद भजन करना पड़ेगा। क्योंकि अगर मैं, अब जैसे कोई डॉक्टर है, अगर डॉक्टर ने पढ़ाई की है पूरी अपनी, तभी तो वो दूसरा समझ पाएगा कि दूसरा भी डॉक्टर है कि नहीं। तो अगर मैंने ही भजन नहीं किया, तो कैसे पता पड़ेगा कि सामने वाला भजन करता है कि नहीं?
बिल्कुल।
वेरी सिंपल। तो पहले भजन क्रिया इसीलिए है, श्रद्धा के बाद भजन क्रिया। भजन क्रिया अति आवश्यक है। अगर आपने भजन नहीं किया, चैंटिंग नहीं की, तो आपके अंदर वो प्योरिटी आएगी नहीं, चक्षु आएंगी नहीं देखने की कि प्योर डिवोटी कौन है। आप सबके साथ मिंगल करते रहोगे और बोलोगे यार भक्ति नहीं बढ़ रही। नहीं, क्योंकि आपने भजन नहीं किया। तो एक स्टेप नीचे आके भजन करना है, ध्यान लगा के हमें चैंटिंग करनी है रेगुलर। अब उसके बाद जब समझ में आया कि हाँ ये प्योर डिवोटी है, तब वो कृपा आती है भगवान की थ्रू डिवोटी, प्योर डिवोटी से तो कृपा नहीं आती। और जब वो कृपा आएगी, तब उसके बाद दूसरा स्टेप है अनर्थ निवृत्ति। तब ये सारे क्रोध, अहंकार, लालच, लोभ, मोह, ये सब धीरे धीरे करके कम होते हैं।
ओके।
और उसके बाद आती है निष्ठा। वो निष्ठा होता है बरगद का पेड़, उसको हवा नहीं हिला पाएगी। तो वहां तक पहुंचने के लिए हमें इन सबसे गुजरना पड़ेगा। और सबसे लंबा टाइम जो लगता है वो है अनर्थ निवृत्ति में। ये विकारों को निकलने में बहुत टाइम
आप
लगता है।
नष्ट होते हैं।
तो अनर्थ निवृत्ति में टाइम लगता है, इसलिए फिर लोग ये भजन क्रिया पे आते हैं, भजन ज्यादा करते हैं, फिर साधु संग, फिर अनर्थ निवृत्ति, फिर भजन क्रिया, फिर साधु संग, फिर अनर्थ निवृत्ति। ये साइकिल चलता रहता है।
ओके।
एक बार आप इस साइकिल से निकल के निष्ठा तक पहुंचे, फिर ये आप प्रश्न होगा ही नहीं मन में। क्योंकि
हाँ।
निष्ठा, क्रोध भी बहुत कम हो जाएगा।
Okay.
तो वो जब स्टेज आपको फीलिंग आ गई, तो आपको लगेगा कि हाँ अब, और उसमें अहंकार भी नहीं होगा। तो ये भी नहीं, अरे मैं निष्ठा पे आ गया, मैं टॉप फ्लोर पे आ गया, मैं अभी इसके
हाँ।
ऊपर जाना नहीं। उसके ऊपर भी है बहुत, उसके ऊपर
हाँ।
बहुत ऊपर सीढ़ी है बहुत लंबी।
तो
अभी
अभी राइट नाउ तो अभी
वो आपको पता,
साधु संग एंड ऑल वही करना है।
आपके बैरोमीटर आपको पता, वो कोई आपको नहीं पता पाएगा कि आप कहाँ पे हो। इट इज आवर ओन सेल्फ। हमको पता है कि हम क्या कर रहे हैं, हमको पता है कि हमारी भक्ति कैसे चल रही है, और हमें क्या करना है वो भी हमें पता होता है। बस स्टेप
हाँ
लेके करना
बिल्कुल।
है। ओके।
Okay.
थैंक यू
So we'll
प्रभु।
end our session. Thank you so
बहुत
much. Hare
इम्पोर्टेंट।
Krishna.
Hare
हरे
Krishna,
Thank
Prabhu.
कृष्ण।
you, Prabhu.
हरे
Thank you so
कृष्णा।
much for a beautiful class. Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.
हरे कृष्णा।